Lolita, light of my life, fire of my loins, my sin, my soul. Lo-li-ta. The tip of the tongue taking a trip of 3 steps down the palate to tap at 3 on the teeth. Lo-li-ta. She was low, plain low in the morning, standing 4 feet 10 in one sock. She was Lola in slacks. She was Dolly at school. She was Dolores on the dotted line. But in my arms, she was always Lolita. Did she have a precursor? She did, indeed she did. In point of fact, there might have been no Lolita at all had I not loved, one summer, an initial girl child, in a Princeton by the sea. Oh, when? About as many years before Lolita was born as my age was that summer. You can always count on a murderer for fancy prose style. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, exhibit number 1 is what the seraphs, the misinformed, simple, noble-winged seraphs, envied. Look at this tangle of thorns. You have to be a madman, an artist and a madman, a creature of infinite melancholy, with a bubble of hot poison in your loins and a superfluctuous flame aglow in your subtle spine. Oh, how you have to cringe and hide, in order to discern at once, by ineffable signs, the slightly feline outline of a cheekbone, the slenderness of a downy limb, and other indices which despair and shame and tears of tenderness forbid me to tabulate. The deadly little demon among the wholesome child, she stands unrecognised by them, and unconscious herself of her fantastic power. My very photogenic mother died in a freak accident, picnic, lightning, when I was 3, and save for a pocket of warmth in the darkest past, nothing of her subsists within the hollows and dells of memory, over which, if you can still stand my style, I am writing under observation, the sun of my infancy had set. I also know that the shock of Animal's death consolidated the frustration of that nightmare summer, made it a permanent obstacle to any further romance throughout the cold years of my youth. The spiritual and physical had been blended in us with a perfection that must remain incomprehensible to matter-of-fact, crude, standard-brained youngsters of today. Long after her death I felt her thoughts floating through mine. Long before we met we had shared the same dreams. We compared notes. We found strange affinities. The same June of the same year, 1919, a stray canary had fluttered into her house, and mine, in 2 widely separated countries. Oh, Lolita, had you loved me thus? I have reserved for the conclusion of my Annabelle phase the account of our unsuccessful first tryst. One night she managed to deceive the vigilance of her family. In a nervous and slender-leaved mimosa grove at the back of their villa we found her perched on the ruins of a low stone wall. Through the darkness and the tender trees we could see the arabesques of lighted windows which, touched up by the coloured inks of sensitive memory, appeared to me now like playing cards, presumably because a bridge game was keeping the enemy busy. She trembled and twitched as I kissed the corner of her parted lips and the hot lobe of her ear. A cluster of stars palely glowed above us, between the silhouettes of long thin leaves. That vibrant sky seemed as naked as she was under her light frock. I saw her face in the sky, strangely distinct as if it emitted a faint radiance of its own. Her legs, her lovely live legs, were not too close together, and when my hand located what it sought, a dreamy and eerie expression, half pleasure, half pain, came over those childish features. She sat a little higher than I, and whenever in her solitary ecstasy she was led to kiss me, her head would bend a sleepy, soft, drooping movement that was almost woeful, and her bare knees caught and compressed my wrist, and slackened again, and her quivering mouth, distorted by the acridity of some mistress potion, with a sibilant intake of her breath, came near to my face. She would try to relieve the pain of love by roughly rubbing her dry lips against mine. Then my darling would draw away with a nervous toss of her hair, and then again come darkly near, and let me feed on her open mouth, while with a generosity that was ready to offer her everything, my heart, my throat, my entrails, I gave her to hold in her awkward fists the sceptre of my passion. All at once we were madly, clumsily, shamelessly, agonizingly in love with each other, hopelessly, I should add, because that frenzy of mutual possession might have been surged only by our actually imbibing and assimilating every particle of each other's soul and flesh. But there we were, unable even to mate as slum children would have so easily found an opportunity to do so.